Hello everyone, Evan from MonkeyDM here. So, in today's video I'm going to give you 5 tips on how to DM when you're new at the game. So, you finally made the decision. You picked up some dice, you picked up a rulebook, or 2 or 3, and now it's time. You have your players ready, everybody got their character sheet ready, you're excited, it's your time to DM. But you're not really sure on how to go about it. Maybe you're feeling a little anxious. Well, I'm here to give you 5 simple tips on how to be a better GM, especially when you're a beginner. So, tip number 1. You see this book? Read it. The DMG. Read it from start to finish once. I'm not telling you to remember everything that's in it. That would be crazy. I'm pretty sure even the people working at Wizards don't remember everything. But read it once, especially for the main rules, the main checks, ability checks, saving throws, exploration, these kind of rules. You want to know them, it's really going to help you out in the end. Because a lot of times I see newer players take the DM mantle and they're like, okay, I've seen other people play, maybe you've watched Critical Role a few times, and you're like, okay, let's go, and then it's like, oh, what's that check again? Or, what's that rule here? You don't need to know all the rules, you just need to know enough rules so that the game keeps on flowing. Usually the main rules, initiative, combat, and so on. There's some sections here and there that you can skip, for example, on the realms and all that jazz. But it will give you so much information, plus it's written in a very, very fun way. You know, it's like this super high fantasy stuff, so you see like all those cool things. You don't have to read it in order, you don't have to read it all at once. Just try to go through the rules. If you cannot afford the Dungeon Master's Guide, there's a lot of free resources online. Wizards of the Coast themselves made the free rules, which everybody can access. I'll link them below. And on top of that, you've got D&D playlists on telling you on how to be a dungeon master, talking about the various roles. I would encourage you to watch those, if only to give you the confidence that you need to step up and be a dungeon master. Because I know for a lot of people, they might know enough of the rules, they may have played enough D&D, but what they like is the confidence to go step up and be a dungeon master. And that's okay too, you know, like take your time. At the end of the day, it's a game, no need to pressure yourself so much. But if you're playing, especially if you don't do paid DMing, you know, you're playing with your family or playing with your friends, which is, I'm gonna take a wild guess and assume that probably 80% of D&D tables are with friends or family. You're going to be fine, because at the end of the day, they're your friends, so they're not going to be wanting to trash you down. You know, they're here because they want to play D&D as well. They want to experience their epic character. So don't stress over it. Like, it's fine. You're going to make mistakes. Everybody does. Nobody's born freaking perfect. I'm just coming closer to tell you, no need to stress about it. You're going to be okay. Just try it. It's very fun. And once you've DM'd, you might never want to be a player again, because you get to play all the characters. That's the first tip. It's an easy one, but it's important. So yeah, try to go through the Dungeon Master Guide at least once before running your first game. By the way, if you're enjoying the content so far, consider subscribing. Maybe there's a like button below as well, which you can totally hit. And yeah, click the notification bell, and maybe you're all not 20 next time. Or like me, on whatever the fuck I rolled. Now, second rule. It is not to get hung up on the rules. Yes, you're like, but Evan, you literally just told me like a second ago to read the rules and now you're telling me not to listen to them? It's not exactly like this. Look, when you play D&D, there's a ton of rules in that game. Although 5e is a lot simpler than older editions of the game, I'm looking at you, 3.5e. It still has a lot of rules. It's got rules for underwater combat, for example. It's got like stuff that barely ever apply to your normal, regular game. And sometimes what's going to happen is a player is going to ask you to do something, and you're not sure about the rule, because of course you're a new DM. Even like me, as a more experienced DM, like sometimes I'm not even sure.
A few moments later.
Even me, as a more experienced DM, sometimes there's just rules I don't remember. You know, my player asks me something, and for the life of me, I cannot remember it. So what you do in those situations, unless the player is really a rules lawyer, knows the rules by heart, and tells you, hey, this is how it's supposed to be, just go with your gut feeling, your instinct. Don't stop the session to go check the rule online, make sure it's correct, and tell the players, and then you can get back on track. It's not that great. Why? Because it stops the flow of the game. One of the great things about D&D is that you can get so immersed into it. Right? Like when you're playing your character, you don't even think about the outside world. You're just having a blast, playing someone completely different. And when the DM has to stop everything to go check the rolls, you can see how it stops the flow of the game. So that's why I'm advising you, when you're not sure about a roll, just go with your gut feeling. And once the session is over, you go on the internet, take your time, and you check the roll. And this way, you'll know for next time. So that's why I'm telling you, do not get hung up on the rolls. At the end of the day, you're the GM, you're the one who makes the judgment. Tip number 3. Don't forget to ask for ability checks. And the flip side of this, don't always ask for ability checks. What do I mean? Sometimes your players will come to you and ask you, hey, I want to try to climb that wall, or I want to, pick that lock. Those are very obvious ability checks asks. You tell them, hey, give me acrobatics check, or give me sleight of hand checks. But you don't always need to ask your players for a check. For example, he tells you, hey, I'm at the forge and I want to walk up to the castle. Don't need to give them a acrobatics check to see if they walk properly or trip on the pavement. These kind of things, just think about the classes your characters are playing. There's some stuff that will come naturally to them. Don't forget to use passive checks as well, like passive perception. For example, you have a player with a very good passive perception. Usually it's going to be clerics or druids because their wisdom is their main score. They're going to be able to notice things that other characters will not. And just, remind them, you don't need to roll because I know your passive perception is 15 or 16, so you see this. First of all, it's going to make the player feel good about their class because they're like, oh yeah, I noticed something. And second of all, it prevents the use of ability checks all the time. But use some ability checks at the end of the day. Tip number 4. If you are dead new to the game, meaning it's your first time ever playing, you're really not sure about the rules, you're really not confident that you could run a full homebrew world of your own, take a pre-made adventure. I actually wouldn't recommend Frost Maiden as a first adventure. I think it's a bit tough. But you can take Lost Mine of Fendelver, is a very good one, to get you started and get your DM chops going. Why? Because pre-made adventures have all the ability checks required written down. All the monster, the stat blocks, every encounter, everything is written down, which makes it super easy for a new DM to use because all you have to do is open the book, read the page, and you know what to throw at your players. It's mostly good because players have this amazing talent for derailing any story, so you're always going to end up doing something that was not written on the book. So don't get too hung up on that. Derailing the story is normal, just try to bring it back in the flow of the story at some point. Or don't, improvise, it's fine as well. Talking about pre-made adventures, you can look in the description below. I have offered some free adventures, which are great for new DMs, especially since they allow you to try the game and get a handle on the rules and everything with everything written down, and it should help you out. Tip number 5, have fun. Literally, D&D is a game, and a game is meant to be fun for everyone involved, including you. I know as a game master, a lot of times we take it very much to heart. We want our players to have a good time, and sometimes that means sacrificing our own fun. We shouldn't do that too much. Because if you want to be able to DM for a long period of time, you want to have fun doing it. Otherwise, you're just going to burn out. I know, it's not a job, but you can burn out. It's D&D for you. When you have fun DMing, your players will have more fun too, because they'll see, it's this cycle of, they see you're enjoying yourself, so they're going to enjoy themselves, and you're going to see that they're enjoying themselves, so you're going to enjoy yourself, and you can see how the positive feedback loop goes. So make sure you're having fun as well. Don't do things that make you I don't really want to DM that. I find that kind of boring. Instead, throw some crazy stuff at them. I don't know, you want to throw some stuff that you find fun. For example, me, I love dark fantasy. That's my jam. That's what I love to DM as a DM actually. So what I do is I usually throw my players into darker fantasy settings. Doesn't mean they can have lighter hearted moments or stuff like that. But I know those dark and gritty moments, that's what I live for. I love that. So I make sure to throw some of that as my players, so I have fun doing it as well. So that was 5 simple tips on how to freaking be a better game master or something. Hopefully this video is, is a good quality because there was a lot of sounds going on around here.